got so much fucking design on right now. Bring it down, bring it down, make it come out. I got 3 whole thoughts, I'm the bitches on my line, and you know.
The moment Chen Zheyuan broke down what behind it all means, Leong Jia, what if I told you that the man the world knows for his calm smile, his gentle humor, his effortless control, once stood on a stage, his voice trembling, his eyes filled with tears, and the name that escaped his lips left the entire crowd silent? What if I told you that behind that single moment, behind the crack in his voice, behind the pain in his eyes, was a story the cameras never showed, a truth that all began with one person. Liang Jie. This is the story of the moment Chen Zheyuan finally broke down, and what it truly meant. Hold on tight, K-drama family. The world of your favorite celebrities is unfolding before your eyes, and every moment is more breathtaking than the last. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now, because trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. It happened on a night meant for celebration. The venue was packed. Thousands of fans waving banners, camera flashes painting the air in gold and white. Chen Zheyuan had just wrapped another successful project, and the event was his chance to thank those who had been with him through every high and low. But deep down, this night carried another kind of weight, one the fans could not see. Because for the first time in years, Leong Jia wasn't there. They had been inseparable once. Not just co-stars, but companions through sleepless nights and quiet fears. Their drama You Are My Destiny had been more than just a set, it was the beginning of something real. Every behind-the-scenes clip told the same story, their laughter, their comfort, the way they looked at each other when the cameras weren't rolling. It wasn't the chemistry fans imagined. It was something softer. Something real. But as fame grew, so did the distance. New projects, new responsibilities, new people. And quietly, without warning, the warmth between them began to fade into silence. Until now. The host asked it casually, a question meant for fun, not to pierce open old wounds. Zheyuan, people still talk about your chemistry with Liang Jie. Do you ever miss working with her? The audience cheered, expecting that familiar grin. That teasing laugh. The playful deflection he'd given so many times before. But this time, he didn't laugh. He looked down. His hand tightened on the microphone. And then, a silence so thick it filled the room. When he finally spoke, his voice cracked. I do, he said softly. And his eyes, those calm, controlled eyes, shimmered. I miss her laughter. The crowd quieted instantly. Even the host froze. He looked away, his jaw tight, as though trying to swallow the emotion rising in his chest. Then he whispered the words that broke everyone's hearts. She believed in me when no one else did. The audience gasped. Some thought they misheard. Others began to cry. Because in that single sentence, he had said everything. The man who never revealed his feelings, who always chose professionalism over vulnerability, had just peeled back the last layer of his armor. And what poured out wasn't just sadness. It was gratitude. It was regret. It was love, quiet, unfinished, and still aching. After the event, the clip spread across the internet like wildfire. Chen Zheyuan breaks down on stage. Who was he talking about? Liang Jie's name mentioned, fans in tears. Within hours, the video had millions of views. And as the world replayed his trembling voice, his words began to take on a life of their own. Because those who had followed their story knew this wasn't random. This wasn't nostalgia. This was something deeper, the weight of a bond he never got to protect. A few days later, Leong Jia posted for the first time in weeks. A simple black and white photo of a piano under dim light. Her caption, some songs never really end. You just stop hearing them. No names. No explanation. But everyone knew. Fans flooded her comments, he still thinks of you. That moment was about you. The way he said your name. And then, as if fate were watching, Chen Zheyuan posted his own photo just hours later. A night skyline. Caption: Some silences say more than words ever could. It wasn't coincidence. It was conversation. One only they could understand. Days later, an insider close to both actors spoke quietly to a reporter. They haven't spoken much since their last drama. But when she got sick during filming years ago, he was the one who stayed by her side all night. He's never forgotten that. And maybe that was the truth behind his breakdown. Not guilt. Not longing. But gratitude that still lived in his chest, so big it finally broke through the walls he'd built. Weeks later, Chen Zheyuan was asked again, this time during a magazine interview, about that emotional night. He smiled faintly. I think sometimes you spend years running forward. And then something small reminds you of the people who helped you start running in the first place. He looked down, as if thinking of her. She was one of those people. The interviewer didn't push further. She didn't have to. The answer was written in the way his voice softened every time he spoke her name. And maybe that's what the breakdown truly meant. Not scandal. Not rumor. But remembrance. Because some people come into your life quietly, and leave without fanfare, but their presence stays. In your work. In your growth. In your heart. And no matter how much time passes, their name still carries warmth. The moment his voice cracked on stage, it was like opening a door that had been locked for years. Memories poured in, late-night rehearsals, shared laughter between takes, her teasing voice saying, "Zheyuan, don't overthink. Just feel." He used to roll his eyes and laugh it off. But now, those words echoed like music in an empty hall. He had thought he'd moved on. He told himself he was fine. But that night proved. The heart doesn't move on just because the mind says so. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Leong Jia watched the viral clip like everyone else. Her hands trembled slightly as the screen replayed his trembling voice, "I miss," her laughter. For a moment, she forgot she was an actress. Forgot the distance fame had forced between them. Forgot the schedules, the headlines, the rules. All she saw was him. The same boy who used to bring her snacks on set, who'd wait quietly by the monitor, who'd turn serious only when the director called action. And in that instant, she realized, it wasn't just the fans who missed him. It was her, too. For days, she debated what to do. Should she call? Would it make things worse? Would it open a wound better left untouched? But the thought of silence, of doing nothing, hurt even more. And so, one quiet night, she picked up her phone. Her thumb hovered over his name in her contacts. A name she hadn't dared to press for years. Finally, she took a deep breath, and pressed call. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. Then a voice, tired, but familiar, answered. "Hello?" She froze. For a moment, all those years fell away. It was like being back on set, between takes, when everything still felt simple. "Zheyuan," she whispered. There was silence. Then the sound of a shaky breath on the other end. "Jie?" It was the first time he'd said her name out loud since that night. And it broke him a little more than he expected. What followed wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud or tearful. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels sacred. "I saw the video," she finally said. Her voice trembled, but she didn't stop. "You didn't have to say my name, but thank you." He closed his eyes. He had imagined this moment so many times, and now that it was real, he didn't know what to say. "I didn't plan to," he admitted softly. It just came out. A small, almost broken laugh escaped her lips. "It always does, doesn't it?" The truth. There was another long silence. Not heavy. Just full. Then she whispered, "I never stopped being proud of you." And that was the moment that undid him. Because after years of silence, after all the unspoken words and hidden regrets, the one thing he'd wanted most was to hear that she still believed in him. Because maybe love doesn't always need a label. Maybe it doesn't always end with a confession, or a reunion, or a perfect happy ending. Sometimes, it just needs honesty and closure. And two people brave